So Mr. Chrysler laid the groundwork for generations to come with his emphasis on advancement, technology, design, just really being a leader in all aspects of the industry. So while concept cars, most people think they just look cool and they're neat to see at the auto show, there's really a purpose behind them. It's to allow our designers and engineers to team up, work together, and bring out advancements, whether it's components for the concept car that are new to the industry or the look of the vehicle that's new. It allows them to do fun stuff, whether it's the headlights or the tail lights or even a door handle. All of those may make it to production cars. It all started with the 1934 Airflow, the first production car to be designed using a wind tunnel. Actually worked with Wilbur Wright to build the wind tunnel in the scale models. That vehicle was innovative in the fact that it had a tubular steel frame. They distributed the weight differently than other automobiles. They moved the front axle forward and the rear axle back to give it a better ride. They called it scientific engineering at the time. So, the Airflow was considered the first modern vehicle. That's how they advertised it. And it was different than anything else anybody was building. We get into the 1940s, and in 1941 they brought out two limited production vehicles, the Newport and the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt was interesting because it was the first vehicle to have hidden headlights. You pushed a button and the headlight doors opened. You pushed a button and the vehicle started. That was totally new. Nobody had done that. Everybody does it now, but Chrysler's did it in 1941. It had a one-piece retractable hardtop. Nobody had ever done that before. Now, these things didn't necessarily make it to production. The hidden headlights did in the 1942 DeSoto, but it was a chance to give our engineers and designers an ability to step out, to think, to make advancements. In the 1950s, we hired Virgil Xner as a designer. So Virgil Xner came in and started designing a whole series of concept vehicles. It was important because a lot of these design cues actually made it into the production vehicles, and they still resonate today. It started with the Chrysler K310, then they did the Chrysler Special, which is an interesting story because Ghia of Italy built the bodies for these vehicles. They're designed here in the United States. So they built 43 Chrysler Specials, and they were only sold in Paris, except for one that came to the United States, which we're fortunate enough to have in our collection. What's funny is Mr. Xner was doing these smaller concept cars, but he is also responsible for all the later 1950s designs, basically the fins, the forward look era. And the birth of the fins on cars really came from Mr. Xner. It started very small in 1955 on the Chrysler 300s and New Yorkers. Got a little bit bigger in 1956, and then 1957 put the large fins on the vehicles. In 1951, we brought out power steering. In 1952, power brakes. There was cruise control. What we know is cruise control. They called autopilot back in the day. That was first seen on a Chrysler in 1959. We even were crazy enough, we put a record player in a car. It was mounted underneath the dashboard, but it was really the industry's first personalized entertainment system. No longer did you have to rely on the radio, you could pick the music you were listening to. One important thing we did was the Chrysler Turbine program. We started installing turbine engines in cars in 1954. These are all test vehicles. The program ran up till 1981, and the whole purpose of the program was to see if there's a different way than what we know as an internal combustion engine, if there's something else. And so the turbine engine had 80% less parts. It ran at higher temperatures and higher RPMs. It would run on almost any kind of fuel, anything that would burn. Kerosene, jet fuel, diesel. It was just neat, and it just shows that how in 1950s we were looking at technology that we're still looking at today on what different fuels can we power our vehicles on. Throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, the industry was changing quite a bit. We were going from large vehicles to much smaller ones, brought out front-wheel drive vehicles, and we really weren't testing the waters with concept cars for many years. But in 1989, that all changed with the Portofino. We were associated with Lamborghini at the time. Our engineers, Lamborghini's engineers, and our international design team got together, put together this rear-engine vehicle powered by a Lamborghini, but its design kind of blew everybody away. People weren't expecting it on a Chrysler at the time. It was really our first step into what became 30 plus years now of being at the forefront of design of the automobile. So in the mid-1990s, our design team was, one of the chiefs and leaders was Tom Gale, a legend in the design community. He and Bob Lutz working together came up with the idea of the Atlantique, a concept car that you won't forget after you see it. It looks like, and took a lot of its design cues from the Bugattis of the 1930s, classic vehicles. When we brought that out, I think it was debuted at the Detroit Auto Show, the world was stunned. It was just an incredible vehicle, and they actually looked at going production with it, but it was just would be too expensive for the tooling, and it was too specific of a vehicle. When it was introduced, the Kronos was something special. The designers looked back to those designs of Virgil Xner's show cars in the early 1950s, and they actually took right from it. The grille that's on the vehicle would fit on any one of those other concepts he did back then. So what they did was they created a long wheelbase, elegant vehicle that's elegant inside and out, and is really an instant classic. So the Fighter Power, it was introduced in 2005 at the North American International Auto Show. It's a two-seat sport coupe that it's one of my favorites. It's built on a Viper chassis with a 6.1 liter Hemi engine powering it. It's long hood to fit that large engine. The rear is real tight and performance oriented. It looks like a sports car, and it really exudes the Chrysler brand's elegance and performance of the time. It's just a gorgeous car. So the ME412 is just a really, really cool car. It looks like a supercar. It is a supercar that was very close to becoming production. It had a mid-engine, where that's where the ME comes from. They actually built and tested a second vehicle, and this vehicle at our Chelsea Proving Grounds was doing laps at over 200 miles an hour. So they expected it to probably hit about 240 miles an hour in performance. Really wish we had built it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful car. The Chrysler brand has been a leader in many things, whether it's design, engineering, or safety, or technology. The brand's been at the forefront all these years, and it's really become an iconic American brand that has led from the front.